Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, non-binary, distinguished guests, welcome to Ridiculous, the Life of a Clown.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Ridiculous, Life of a Clown. I am Gherkin Picklewater, and today I am talking with David Roe, Pip, a clown that I've known for a few years. Pip, how are you today?
Hey, all right, hanging in there. How's it going, everybody?
Can you tell everyone who you are and what you do?
Yes, so my name is David Roe, and I'm a performer of 40 years. I originally started out as a dancer, ended up becoming a physical comedian, physical actor.
It's very cool. What originally brought you to clown?
That's one of those stories. It's just like I have so many parts. It's wonderful, but the basic story was that I was working as a dancer for near on like 20 years or so, and I also studied literature, and I was performing slam poetry and finding my voice, and I felt that taking part in modern dance and dance performance after so long without ever really being to speak, I felt that there was something more I wanted to give and I needed to give. And basically the environment that I was in really put a lot of things out there to me. I was in New York City in the 90s, and so I saw Cirque du Soleil, I saw Big Apple Circus, I saw Bindlestiff Family Circus, and I grew up in the 70s seeing Ring Ling, and so I had a long influence before that, and I realized that, clowning is what I need to do. I didn't want to do tragedy. I did not want to play King Lear. I wanted to play the jester.
So, how did you actually get your start? What was the beginning of your path down into clown?
Right, it was rough. I'll tell you that I didn't know where to go, but what I did start to do was, there I was in the 90s, and so I could see Bindlestiff Family Circus. I also need to name the New York Goofs and the Happy Hour Clown Trio. All of these people were working, and I got to see them all live. Fringe festivals were a new thing in New York City too, and so there were some interesting clown crossover acts. And eventually all I could really figure out to do was just put on a vest and some makeup and go to Central Park and try to pass the hat. Well, that was a failure, but I just kept looking around. Some people showed up to teach workshops. I'm pretty sure that the first workshop I ever took was with Steve Smith.
Nice.
In New York City. And then I guess I just kept looking. I stumbled upon a clown school while living in Rome, in Italy, where I spent a year and a half as an au pair. And I got my first full year of circus and clown training in Italy. And then after that with teachers from Brazil, and I studied in Brazil, and it still wasn't enough. So I ended up at San Francisco Clown Conservatory at the Circus Center, class of 2005. Yeah.
That was the year before me, I believe.
Exactly. Yeah. So I saw your work and the work of people in your class as well.
Mm-hmm. That's very cool. So let's talk about your career trajectory. What was your first job as a clown?
Let's see, like a paid one, you mean? I think I managed to get, well, actually, so the first one was, I guess I want to throw in that backing up to my dance career, I was fortunate enough through the influence of my parents, mostly my mother, to be introduced to some of the holistic communities in the United States. So I was brought to the Omega Institute in New York, where I studied with teachers from Pilobolus and Momix and Phuket, eccentric motions. And then later on, I ended up at an institute here in Western Massachusetts, where I'm living now. And this place is a home of dance. It's called Earth Dance, the Earth Dance Creative Living. And I was living at Earth Dance as a volunteer, and I was trying to launch myself as a clown. So I threw a fundraiser, and I did my first solo show. It was about a 1 hour solo show so that I could raise $2,000 to go straight to Brazil and study at LUME, L-U-M-E, the LUME group, where several others of us have trained, and they're still training there as well. So yeah, my first full-length clown show appearance was really a one-man clown show to raise money to study.
And what year was that?
That was 2003. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about the elephant in the room. I mentioned this earlier. You spent some time as a Ronald, did you not?
Yeah. So later on, right, working my way out of Earth Dance through Brazil. I did a second solo show in Boston. I made my way out west, and I got work, when I was in San Francisco, I got work with Velocity Circus and through the Circus Center as well. And then I worked with Agaboom for a little bit, which was a Ukrainian trio, really. And I sort of hit like a dead spot in about 2006. I was I was hired to work Cirque de la Mer at Busch Gardens, or SeaWorld, I mean, and I lost that gig. I fumbled something, and somebody sent me an audition notice for a corporate clown, salaried with health benefits.
Nice.
And the interview was in LA, and I said, nobody hires clowns with salary and benefits, so I got to check it out. And yeah, I showed up, I did the interview, and at the end of the interview, they told me that the character was Ronald McDonald, and they said straight up, do you have any trouble with that? I said, nope. So I just took the job. And I did honestly have some pretty complicated inner conflicts, but I took the job. And I think right now what we used to call the Ronald McDonald program is no longer working. It's no longer up and running. I think maybe around 2017 or so, they might have disassembled it. There's probably still one actor who does any print or TV ads as Ronald McDonald right now. And but up until 2017 or before, there were about 300 clowns around the world making appearances in what we would call activating Ronald, animating Ronald. And I did that in Southern California, the Los Angeles area, 5 counties for 5.5 years, and it's the biggest in the world. Yeah.
That's a really long time to have one gig.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So what was that like? What was it like being around? Did you speak? I'm assuming you spoke as a Ronald.
Yeah, I was able to bring the speaking skill into it. So Ronald is a speaking clown. Ronald does magic. He also happens to be, because he's an icon, he's a headliner. He's not a supporting act for anything, no matter whatever he goes into. And he's toured around the world internationally. So, he's got red carpet treatment, basically. But he can appeal to adults of any age as well as children, which is an important part of the draw. And so what excited me about it as soon as I got signed on was, I was like, wow, it actually took every skill that I had ever learned up until then, not just in clowning, not just in dance, not just in performance, but we also had to drive trucks. We had to set up stages. We had to run our own sound. We had to run lights sometimes. We had to join festivals or parades and figure out who to work with, and riders. But yeah, magic. We perform magic, small close-up magic, as well as like larger production pieces for stages. And then there was always the talking piece. It was almost always educational. The Ronald McDonald program, when I got into it, had no need or agenda to speak about the food as a promotional element. So that was never our job. Of course, the kids, wanted to come tell us how much they loved the French fries after the show. But what we were doing was trying to talk about educational topics that were relevant to whatever situation. And then there was always meet and greet. And outside of that, in and above that, it was also sometimes we were working in hospitals or with Shriners and children in all different states of, physical suffering. So it was huge. Sometimes working with Hollywood stars as well, and being on a lot in Hollywood with famous people. So it really covered a lot of ground, and I was quite pleased to be able to do all that.
How many people were in your crew with you?
The Southern California, Los Angeles area consisted of, let's say, 6 of us. 4 of us were basically full-time, but there were times during the year, mostly like Christmas time, where they might need several appearances at once. And so we had 2 backups. They were both very well trained. All of these people are still working in theater and some of them in clowning to this day. And, the background of the guys that I worked with has always been amazing. And it's always showed what is really true about clowns is that every clown is completely different. And every clown brings something different to the table. Usually they bring about 12 or 24 things to the table, and it's just astonishing. Like one's a juggler, I'm a dancer, another one does the magic really well, another one is, into music, does the ukulele, there's the rollabola. There's so many skills. So each of these guys really had quite a lot of speciality to them. And most of us also dabbled a little bit in film and television because we were in Los Angeles as well. So did I. Yeah.
What kind of film and television work did you end up doing?
I got into. I honestly thought that the film scene was brutal. I never wanted to try to make it as an actor in Los Angeles. It seemed brutal, and when I got there, that definitely seemed to be true. But but what I did, I got invited to for friends who were doing projects. I worked on an independent feature called Benjamin Troubles, playing a street performer. I worked with a wonderful clown, April Hava Shankman, who did a web series. It was called The Happy Happy Show, and was very proud to work with her. And I did several shows with her live as well. And I did a show. I did a pilot that never took off. It was all about a taco truck. Which is totally Southern California, and since then I've gotten back here and I've dabbled in a couple of other film pieces. I started working in film in '92 with some animated features, so it was a through line. But yeah, I don't know if I'd love to do some of the roles that the great actors are doing. I don't know if the industry lets us in, but anyway.
So where did you go from Ronald? What was your next stage of your career?
Oh yeah. Well, so after I basically left the Ronald McDonald program in 2013. In certain ways I felt I hadn't been teaching for many years. I'd just been able to live off performance. I guess backing up a minute to mention, it feels important to me. I was able to work with Cirque du Soleil in Los Angeles as well. So here's another little snapshot of Los Angeles, which is quite wonderful, is that all the variety artists that are in Los Angeles, they know each other, and they've been working together, some of them since the 70s or the 80s. So whatever, the clown that you saw in a VW commercial in 1980 is the guy that you're still walking with out in front of the El Capitan Theater for the latest Disney animated feature opening. And that's just how it is. We all knew each other. You know, when people came to town in Los Angeles to teach workshops, we all showed up together. And Cirque du Soleil came to audition, and they took a dozen of us, and they put us in the, what is it called? Special events department, which meant that they put us in makeup and costumes, and they set us loose at parties to promote the upcoming show. So I was able to spend quite a while promoting. Iris was the name of the show that landed in Hollywood. John Gherkin was the lead clown. And each of us were sort of like given an understudy role that we were looking forward to. But the show eventually closed, and most of us didn't end up, you know, getting those understudy roles. Although a couple of folks went on to work with some of the traveling shows. John Monastero went off to work with Totem. Eric Davis went off to work with Alegria. And John Gilkey has been teaching. He was teaching his signature form of comedy all that time in LA as well. I got to study with him and perform with him, and it's very unique what he does as a teacher.
Yeah, I idolize him. He is one of I think one of America's greatest living clowns.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and as a teacher, he's got something quite interesting as well. So 2013, I guess, you know, a lot of things happened. Midlife happened for me. I was 43 at the time. I had a lot of changes come up, and some of them came up around the family. My father went into dementia. I lost some of my oldest living relatives, and then there was some infighting in my family. It was a very tumultuous time for me personally, and part of living in Los Angeles over a 5.5 year period, I didn't realize was making me ill. The smog, and I really tried to make it and be strong, but physically it was taking its toll on me, and I was driving a lot. I was driving up to like 4 hours a day on Los Angeles freeways with a truck with Ronald McDonald on the side. And a lot of driving, and that's affected my back. I just kind of hit a wall, and I felt like I wanted to switch out and maybe take off the makeup, perhaps work less with kids, and try to get more into some more adult comedy and or theater. And I didn't really know what to do. It's been a long and mixed up road since then. But I went back to San Francisco, and I did end up working with Greg Angelo's Velocity Circus again several times, and also with the Vaudeville Society, notably. So that was some very adult material, and I fell into, I guess, you know, two of my, I just got to say it, like two of my best collaborations ever were with our friends, Kelly Texas Holly, and my other one was with Sir Cole By. And these were the two people that I did the best work I've done so far. Eventually I left San Francisco for Boulder, and I worked with a circus there for a little bit, but picked up and came back to the East Coast in 2017. I couldn't completely tell you why yet, but I'm still here trying to figure it out.
Nice. Well, getting a little more into the esoteric. Well, first, actually, you mentioned the collaborations that you enjoyed the most. What is a role or project that you are the most proud of?
Yeah. Well, thank you. I was really proud to work with Texas, doing the chainsaw gag, which I know you did as well, and we did another collaboration. I can't quite remember right now, but also with Sir Cole. I tend to pronounce his name Sir Cole, but it's Sir Cole. and we worked on we threw a duet together called the Stick Brothers, and basically we were suit and tie, hat and cane, vaudevillians with a little bit of a devilish spin. And we did a stick twirling act. We did several shows together. The character that I'm working as now, when I bring him out to open mic rooms at the moment, is Pip, and he's half of the Stick Brothers, and I'm doing my ability to take what I did with Cole has just been spinning out and helping me create who Pip is now. Yeah. I do a little bit of magic. I do a stick twirling act, and I've been writing a lot of patter and a lot of jokes. And actually, just to ramble a bit, also the next thing that I've been working on is sort of an evening performance of songs. I have about 12 or 13 songs that I'd like to sing live, and with the jokes in between and such. A couple of them with some dancing, but I haven't yet found the musicians to back me up. But it's a project I'm working on right now.
That's very cool. I've been looking at trying to do some more musical acts myself, some more singing, and I'm lucky that I have. Do you know Nick Dixon?
Yes.
Yeah, Nick Dixon and I are in a troupe together, and so we're trying to work on some music-based acts as part of that troupe, part of the performance style that we do, the format that we do for that troupe.
Right. So, you have the ukulele, is that right?
Huh?
You play the ukulele, is that right, if I remember?
I play a little bit of concertina. I played the ukulele briefly, but I don't anymore. I've been playing the concertina for 15 years, and I started off being able to play about 10 things, and now I'm up to 3. There it goes.
It's rough.
So who are some of your heroes? What are the clowns that influenced the clown you ended up becoming?
Oh, that's great. I love this question because I have so much to say, and because I've been around since the 70s. So I was raised, I went to Ringling. I saw Lou Jacobs. I saw Emmett Kelly. I saw Griebling as a kid. I also grew up watching. We had a restaurant back in Albany, New York, where I grew up. It was called the Ground Round. And when you went inside, the floor was covered in sawdust. And on the bar, you had baskets of peanuts and popcorn. Or the tables that you ate at were on top of barrels, and you had peanuts and popcorn, endless peanuts and popcorn, and then there were televisions playing Laurel and Hardy, Charlie Chaplin, Buster Keaton, nonstop. So I grew up, I really admired Laurel and Hardy, and I've come to identify a lot with Stan Laurel in some ways. Charlie Chaplin, for sure. As a teenager, I saw the Harlem Globetrotters. I saw Moonenchance, which is a great physical, and they're coming back now. They're making a return tour this year, which is just phenomenal. And I also got introduced to, I think it was called the Festival of Fools when I was a kid. I saw the Flying Karamazov Brothers and Django Edwards, and some of the people that worked with Smirkus. And then of course on the big screen I was deeply influenced by Robin Williams, and literally the Popeye film of 1980, which featured Bill Irwin and a whole bunch of folks from the Pickle Family Circus, and I never knew that I would end up working with these people one day, but Bill Irwin has held a high standard that a lot of us are trying to live up to. His nickname, I guess, is the Clown Prince, right? And then David Shiner is the person that I saw in, let's say, 89 or 91 or something, doing the show with Cirque du Soleil. And I said, I can do that. I want to do that. How do I do that? And I didn't even go after it for another 7 or 8 years. But I always kind of wanted to do a little bit of what he did, although he had Shiner has a little bit of a tougher edge. But it's not really my style that I couldn't really do. But I also saw the Big Apple Circus, and a huge influence was the Happy Hour Clown Trio. So that's Matthew Morgan, Ambrose Martos, and Mark Gindick, and they're all still working. And I hope you can get them all on your show one day too. Each of them, they just did a reunion tour, and people like the Bindlestiff Family Circus. Keith Nelson, he had people in his show like Magic Brian and Scotty the Blue Bunny, and all these people are still working. So I just feel like I kept taking, and then there was another like watershed moment for me. I was in Italy studying clowning, and the university had brought Slava Polunin to perform part of Slava's snow show. And so I was 28 studying clowning in Rome, and I saw this show and I said, oh, I like this style. This is beautiful. It's very unique. I want to do something like this, but not exactly. And I'd never seen anything like it before, the style that we could call poetic clowning, right? And but I took a few things from Slava, and eventually I ended up working with Dmitry Bogatyryov, who was his colleague. He's the founder of Agaboom. And their styles are very similar. And ultimately, I was never really good at the Ukrainian style. I have to admit it. I was terrible. I could never do what they needed me to do. I tried really hard, but I learned a lot of skills. And then, at clown school, I loved working with Greg Angelo and Velocity Circus. I loved seeing Frank Olivier and Paul Nathan work together, as well as Michael Davis in Teatro Zinzani. So I also have to mention that Teatro Zinzani is really a high benchmark throughout the years, and everybody who's worked with them. And then finally, just to throw in the other, in another aspect, is the sort of more satirical circuses like Circus Amok in New York City and the San Francisco Mime Troupe, which are doing political circus work. All these people have influenced me, and I just keep trying to go on. Yep.
Nice. That's great. That is quite a litany of influences. So you've already mentioned this a little bit, but just to elaborate, what is a role or project you've always wanted to pursue, but for whatever reason haven't been able to yet?
Ooh, well, actually, no, that's a juicy question, because it's fun to think about how, as a kid, I really did I wanted to do musicals. I wanted to perform in musicals, and I was lucky. I grew up with a brother and two sisters, and we would just get together with our neighbors and perform the entire show of Grease or the Muppet Show and the entire thing and all the songs. And so I grew up doing that, and I think that's something I've always wanted to do. And now I think of myself as a rather experienced physical comedian. Like, I want to do a role like the Grinch, on Broadway. It's a really exciting role. Or even like, I guess Miss Doubtfire is now casting, right? I think they're doing Miss Doubtfire as a musical. I mean, that's just wild to me. But things like that, roles that call for interesting physical actors and physical comedians. Anything that Bill Irwin has done, and everything that Doug Jones is doing in Hollywood, by the way. As well.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, those are definitely things I hope to do. I don't know, maybe I can make my way back to New York City. I spent 12 years there in the past, so we'll see.
All right. So what is next for you? What do you have coming up the soonest?
I guess the soonest, I have to sort of explain that I've been pretty inactive. I've been here in Western Mass, getting by with wage work, and sometimes with gig work off and on since 2012, 2013. I've had a couple of pet projects that I've been working on. And so one of them is the night of an evening of song. I call that the Love Tour. All the songs are about love. It's in 4 different languages: Italian, Spanish, Portuguese, and English. And all these different songs, different eras, back to the 20s or 30s. The other thing that I've been working on is, I've been working on an act for Pip, which would be suitable as an MC character who could also do little bits between other acts. And I've been very slowly working on a memoir about my experience as a performer since 1977. And I thought I would have gotten more done by now, but it's just yeah.
Okay, so one last question before I let you go. If you were to tag one other person to be on the podcast after you, who would it be?
Oh, yeah. Well, I was definitely thinking about that, and I came up with I think you should talk to Ambrose Martos.
Martos?
Yeah, I think he's really got an interesting career. He just played Circus Flora in St. Louis, and then in the realm of female clowns, you'll probably remember Cynthia Aviance Rocher, who has just made a comeback this summer, working with the Bindlestiff Family Circus.
For her.
Yeah, it was really nice to see that she's back out there now. And those are 2 people I definitely thought of for you.
Great. Well, yeah, and I will reach out to you after the podcast to get the spelling and everything for Ambrose.
Exactly. Yeah, it's been. I just want to mention also, it's been a pleasure to listen to all the interviews that you've done. Some of them I haven't gotten through yet, and it's nice also because there's 3 or 4 other sort of interview platforms out there, and that includes James Donlin and his Mime Radio show, and Barnaby King, who is doing a Clown Spirit, Clownversations. It's all been very inspiring. Some of the people that interviewed I haven't seen everything, but it's, I've worked with so many of those people, and it's just great that we can all talk about this. Yeah,
I agree. Well, thank you, Pip, and I will talk to you very soon.
Yeah. Oh, finally, I just have just to let you know, although I'm behind the times, I have a web page. So
yes. How can people find you?
Yeah, it's a single page. You can find me by coming to Western Massachusetts and visiting Whole Foods in Hadley, where I'm on 4 days a week. And online, if you look up About Me /David Roe, it's ROE. And it's a 1-page web page. There's a couple of buttons for videos, and there's a link to my Facebook. I'm on Facebook as David Roe, and then I manage my page for Pip, my alternate personality. And you can see a couple of the videos that I've made there, and a couple of the short films I've made recently. Hopefully one day I'll find an intern to help me make a real website,
Yeah.
So,
Great. Thank you, Pip.
Yeah, thank you. It's a pleasure.
You too. All right, we will talk soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us today on Ridiculous Life of a Clown. If you enjoyed this program and you'd like to get more of it, please consider sponsoring us on Patreon at patreon.com/picklewater. For as little as $1 a month, you can help make sure that this podcast keeps coming to your ears on a regular basis. Theme music by Kevin MacLeod.